Are we going to appall you with something confidential and disgusting? Let's hope so, because that is what you really like. Unconfessed crimes of buried wickedness. If that is what brings you to us, the prospect of hearing horrors, you shall not go unrewarded.
I don't believe it. The whole city is talking.
You hear it all over.
What a story.
What a scandal.
What a comedy.
What a tragedy.
Incredible.
I don't believe it.
Who can believe it?
What horrors have you heard?
Tell us.
Tell us.
What the fuck is up, everyone? How are ya? Your host Shaun here. Hope you're well. Bonus episode, you say? I know, right? Crazy. Hope you all enjoy this. Our mate Erin, who's a registered nurse, she deals with all you disgusting sick humans all the time with your viral infections and your bacterial things and your icky diseases and your what's this, I'm itchy and this hurts and oh, I think I've got a boo-boo. She deals with all your shit. And she took time out of her busy schedule to come up and sit with my dumbass and talk to me about how viruses work and what pandemics really mean and what are we all so worried about at the moment? I don't know. Let's have a listen and find out, shall we? Thanks, Erin. You're a legend. Love ya. Catch us all later. Bye.
We interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
You're listening to Carousel Sniper Victim, a Dead Glass Design production, with your host, Shaun Jeffery.
What's going on in the world, Erin? Are we all going to die?
Probably always going to die. We've
Yeah.
got no way of stopping that at the moment. From the coronavirus, probs not, unless of course you're more likely to die if you're over 65 with comorbidities, so diabetes. Obviously, if you've got underlying respiratory issues like COPD, emphysema, those kinds of things, more likely to.
Because that was what they said with, like, when it first happened. I remember I talked about it in the timeline. They were like, the first 5 cases that they were actually able to get a previous medical history of the people before, like, shit went crazy and they're just trying to play catch up.
Yeah.
They found that all 5 of those people had underlying medical issues, like had
The ones
chronic
that died.
encephalitis and fucking brain shit and lung shit, and they were all,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
sick already, and they were like, that just...
Yeah,
was the
exactly,
nail on the head,
exactly,
right?
exactly. Like, of course, if you've got issues already, you're more likely to die when you contract an illness. More likely, we would look at something like influenza. So, older people, younger people, people with chronic health conditions are likely to die with influenza as well.
So obviously influenza is deadly as shit because it's been around forever and it adapts. Is that the problem with it? Like, because we have flu shots every year and whatnot.
Yeah. So,
what's the flu?
God. Yeah.
I know a fun fact about influenza. It comes from the Greeks and before that Latin for influence, because they used to think it was the stars and the influence of the stars that made you ill. So you get influenza. And same as when you have a disaster, that's bad star.
Okay. Well,
anyway,
yeah.
That's all my knowledge about influenza.
Yeah. More, it's there's the H and the N proteins. I don't actually know a huge amount of what specifically it is because I haven't researched the shit out of it like I have with Corona for us. But obviously the issue is each year it changes a little, and they base the flu vaccination on what's happened the previous season, or it might be because the flu seasons normally differ between the southern hemisphere and the northern hemisphere, so we'll be getting our flu vaccinations in Australia based on what's been going on in the US at the moment.
Seasonal? Like,
yeah.
Because
yeah.
the cold, is it like, when you say cold, is that because people get a cold, that's not actually getting the flu.
No,
though,
but you're more likely to get the flu in winter, and that could be maybe because you're actually in a close space with other people as well. Yeah, you're inside more.
Because that's what I was about to say. I was like, isn't it sort of a myth about like you'll catch a cold because it's cold, like getting the flu because it's cold outside?
No,
because it's like you won't get it in Antarctica and like below zero and shit, but when you're more likely to be all in close confines with a bunch of people and like coughing on each other and shit because it's warmer inside. Then...
Yeah. Or in this case, which we'll get to later, if you're quarantined in the same place for a very long time. Yes. But yeah, so obviously...
Jack, you're fired.
So yeah, obviously you've got to look at it that for myself, I'm not super worried about it. About Corona, because we're not in the quarantine zones at the moment, because now there's multiple zones going on with the
There's still not
ships.
a confirmed case in WA, is there?
No, there's not a confirmed case in WA at the moment.
They've just diverted. Did you hear today that the QE2 is coming here now as well, like the cruise ship?
Yeah. So
meant to go to Singapore and whatnot.
Yeah, and they didn't want to go to Singapore because they thought, people would...
That's racist, QE2.
It's more because there's more cases over there.
That's it. It's common sense.
Yeah.
So they're
exactly.
Let's go to Fremantle Port instead, where there's no cases yet, instead of bringing a huge ship full of people to a fucking... yet. Like that Diamond Princess boat is just so fucked up.
Yeah. Well, that's why I'm going to get into my theory on why things are so fucked up in more China than anywhere else in the world at the moment as well.
Lay on me. Are these all
you want me to
pins in a fucking board?
This is more what I'm thinking is more that...
Where's your evidence?
It's not. It's more, if you think about it, you've got X amount of people stuck in one area. They can't go out in or out. They can't leave. Then you look at how many cases you've got. Obviously, the hospitals are under pressure over there. They're trying to build stuff, but they haven't got the manpower, nurses, doctors, and they haven't got the resources to actually look after the people as well as they could be if it was a smaller situation. So the fact that you've got everyone locked in that one area and there's not enough good healthcare is the fact that I think it's so bad there. But then if you see a place where it's 1 or 2 cases, obviously it's a lot easier for the healthcare system to manage with a couple of people compared to... Yeah, but it's a lot easier to deal with it when it's a small amount of people compared to
But it seems almost impossible to play catch up in that situation. Like when they're like, we don't think there's going to be cases of like person to person. It seems like it's everyone from this like food market first. And then they're like, hold on, people are getting sick from each other. And then by that stage, it's like thousands of people have left and moved and...
Yeah, but if you look at China and its past history of not quite liking to tell the truth about when there's outbreaks or not liking to actually tell people that there's current outbreaks going on. So SARS, the first other major coronavirus that came around, China for months was saying, oh no, there's only X amount of people that have this disease, until it got to the point where they actually leaked how bad it was because someone was calling up another hospital, a doctor was calling up another hospital, and they realized how panicked the respiratory teams were there, and they kind of started linking the dots. So, and...
China.
Oh yeah, and as I was saying to you before about the whole plague thing that's happened recently in China, so obviously it's endemic to the region, which means there's always going to be that...
Yeah, like two of the past 3 like outbreaks of the plague that happened in Europe were traced back to China well, like came through caravans through the Middle East and then came through Messina.
But the thing is, like, you can also, there's, it's endemic to certain places.
More people there
no,
as well? Like...
it's because it's a bacteria. It's also endemic to certain places in America, like different places in the world. But with this, what happened...
Here's a random question for you then. So, like, how do these... So the plague is a bacterial thing,
Yes.
which is carried by fleas and shit, and then into like whatever and rats
Yeah.
and whatever. But so a bacteria, like how do bacteria, is that just evolved over time itself to be like this super efficient killing machine? Like, what is it for? Like,
Well, bacteria is not always just to be super efficient in killing, because as we found out, there's the gut biome.
yeah, like
the good bacteria.
we're just vessels for carrying bacteria around, basically. But so these like certain strains just evolved to be fucking vicious killers or something.
Well,
like,
at the end of the day,
I'm attributing like sentience to them. Then I'm not saying they're actually like, ha 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 ha. But like, what purpose does it serve if all it does is like, is it just a natural selector to like when shit gets too much? Like, you know, there's too many. Like cordyceps fungus sort of shit. Like they only become a problem when an ant colony gets too big. That then it'll start to reach areas of the rainforest where cordyceps is, and then it will infect parts of that colony and kill it off till it gets back to a smaller size, and then it's okay. What I'm getting at is there too many people, and it's like these viruses and bacteria and whatnot have evolved as a way of being like,
I mean,
when there's too many, we're gonna start.
There could
leveling
be
out
always
the field.
That argument. There's also the argument that there's too many people in small closed areas, and that's what's passing it around. But the thing is, you've got to remember,
like 1300s, like when it first popped its head up to get to like Europe.
Yeah.
Like, had it always been there? Like, was it infecting people in like 600 BC in China? But we just didn't really hear about it?
Well, the thing is, how long has it been since we've actually known what a bacteria is, known what a virus is? We can only see viruses under electron microscopes. Yeah. So it's one of those things. With a lot of outbreaks in the earlier times, people would say, oh, it's this, but they wouldn't actually have a direct idea. They'd be like, well, we see the signs and symptoms, and this seems to be saying this, so then we'll lump it all together into one thing.
Miasma or whatever it is, just like some weird saying for shit.
No, miasma is meant to be like bad smells in the air.
What was the?
It spreads in the air.
Something started with M that they had that was like the completely fake term for just shit back in the day. It was in the plague shit book, and they were like, "You've got this," and then like that ended up being just cholera, but they just like didn't know what cholera was at the time. It's just a tangent.
Yeah, no, I know what you're talking about though, because people would be like, this is kind of like this. I mean, there was also, I can't remember the name of the guy, but he did a test on himself to prove.
Is this the stomach ulcer thing?
No, this is one. Wasn't the WA guy with H. pylori? Cool. No, this was the guy. I can't remember exactly his name. It was something to do with gonorrhea and syphilis. He wanted to sort of either show the difference or prove that they were one and the same, and he ended up infecting himself with gonorrhea and syphilis. So it's
dirty boy.
Yeah, it's one of those things, because a lot of the time it would be like, well, it's both a sexually transmitted disease. We see it coming from here.
That's why we all had those fancy wigs back in the day that we still wear in courtrooms and shit today. Those white wigs. That's because everyone had syphilis back in the day and their hair was falling out.
I think it was also the fact that, what were they putting on their faces to make them super white? Because that was kind of...
Probably fucking mercury or something.
It wasn't mercury. It was something, but you know what? Yes, arsenic. And that was making.
Is that any different from people shooting fucking botulism into their face?
Oh,
today?
God. Have you watched Botch Bodies? Just all the horrible, the horrible stuff where they get all these fillers that aren't meant to be fillers, and then it's getting removed.
I was talking to Jack about that show, that Great British Benefits handout.
Oh yeah, you were saying that.
Yeah, they give them money, and one of the chicks does that. First thing she does, she's like, "I gotta get Botox. I've always thought about it, you know." And I was like, "Fuck's sake, love, sort your life out." Like,
well, at least if she wanted to better herself, she could get boob job and then become a stripper.
Exactly, yeah. She just went and got fillers, and her daughter was like, "You look like a fucking baboon's ass on your face. You're a fucking idiot." And I was like, and it cost her $2,500 of a $25,000 handout.
So stupid. Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. But yeah, arsenic, botulism, beauty.
Yeah.
Fucking retarded thing.
Yeah, it keeps on getting retarded.
Mad Hatter.
Oh, and let's talk about another infectious disease that was very fashionable.
Stupidity.
No, tuberculosis.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Gotta love that pale, skinny with the redness chic. Yeah.
That is pretty hot.
Yeah. TB chic. Yeah. Or consumption, as they like to call it. Yeah.
That's what they say. Like, they're like, oh, is this a paid gig? No, but you'll get good exposure. People die of exposure. But yeah, so plague.
Yeah.
Bacteria.
Yeah.
Yeah. It spins me out. It freaks me out as well because I like space, and I always think about, like, it always blows my mind how space is, but then I never think to look inwards, and you're like, it's all this crazy bacteria and shit.
Yeah. And the fact that it's always evolving as well.
And, like, any little thing can just fuck you up in some crazy way.
Yeah.
There's a dude, Justin Wren, that's a fighter for the UFC, but he also runs, like, charity work and shit, and he goes deep into the Congo all the time.
Yeah.
And runs a company called, works with a company called Water 4, but he runs Fight for the Forgotten.
Yeah.
And they build water wells for these, like, pygmy tribes, actual, like, legit pygmy tribes, where they're, like, tiny little fucking dudes. It's crazy. And they're so dope. He's built, like, 1,000, and he teaches them how to do it, because he's like, I want to empower them rather than just, like, come in with bulldozers and machinery and then it breaks, or some fucking gangsters come and fuck it all up. But he now has some fucking disease that, like, no one knows what the fuck it is yet. He's been on, like, the Joe Rogan podcast, like, twice. And every time he goes, he's just freaking, like, Joe the fuck out. He's going, like, but the doctors don't know. And he's like, no, I'm going to go in for, like, another brain scan. All this shit. And they're like, as far as they're
aware, is it
aware,
bacteria or is it a parasite? Is it a virus?
they think it might be a parasite, but they're like, as far as we're aware, like, we've never seen it. We don't know what the fuck it is. You could be the first person that's, like, ever come back to the Western world with it.
And also when you're going into those places where, it's the medical science that doesn't get out there. Yeah. You're finding
people
all this
get it,
random
and then they
shit.
just die out there, but then, like, some rich white
and
dude
then someone's just
rocks
like, someone's dead, whatevs.
Yeah. But he can just fly back to LA, and then he's like, I don't feel good.
Yeah.
And he's had malaria, like, 3 times and shit.
Yeah.
Even with taking the fucking medication, because he just stays out there too long and all whatever, but it's fucking crazy, yeah. You're like, there's shit out there. That shit freaks me out as well. I'm just going to go off on tangents, and you can be like, that's incorrect. I always have this thought, right? So cordyceps, that shit interests me heaps. Like the crazy fungus shit, and how many things in pop culture have popped up from that, like that
like Mario
fucking that Last of Us game, which has those, like, clicker zombie things, but it's all like, it's spores that attack them, and then they're like, and you have to use clicks for sonar because the spores, like, cover their face and shit and go all weird. But
I have not played that game.
It's pretty loose. But I've watched Kate play it, and I've always spun out thinking about it that there'll be some shit out there that's, like, frozen under fucking deep permafrost that we haven't seen since, like,
you haven't seen V-Wars, have you?
No.
Well, that's pretty much what it goes on about.
Ugh.
Like,
what, are they going out, like, looking for viruses or something? Is this like fucking bug and hunters, or, like, auction wars?
No,
or whatever,
it's a fake series. With the epidemiologist that.
Sick.
Yeah. There's they're going out and looking in Antarctica or the Arctic, and sort of seeing what kind of viruses they can find.
And we'll find some fucked up, like, cordyceps thing that infects humans, like it does with ants or tarantulas.
Well, it's more the fact that, you know, if humans haven't been exposed to it for X amount of time, they're more likely to not have any immunity to it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Pretty much. So
and then what happens? And then it's just the end of the world?
I don't know. It just depends on...
Except for, like, the few that have got some mutation that fucking survive. Like...
That's how the people in V-Wars actually get infected.
Well, that's what happened with,
mutation.
like, they said with, like, Spanish flu. Like, eventually, by the time that had been around to, like, fucking gone through America, gone through Europe, fucked a bunch of cunts up, they were like, it killed off everyone it was going to kill off.
Yeah.
And a lot of people that survived just, like, had an immunity built up.
Yeah.
And then it was like... and it just, like, leveled back out again.
Yeah,
and, like, it just petered it off because, like...
The thing is, the viruses need a host to replicate, and if it doesn't have the host, then it's not going to be able to replicate.
So viruses have, like, no DNA of their own? They have RNA or like...
So they can have, and this is one of my things of notes that I've got here.
This is just coming from my deep stoner memory of I'm pretty sure isn't that something about it where it was like we have DNA but viruses only have like RNA and they need a host and something.
Viruses,
thing, like,
RNA or
the fucking thing
DNA
and
surrounded
replicates
by lipid protein or glycoprotein, which makes a little capsid. Obviously it's smaller than a bacteria as well. And so whatever proteins are on it are what makes it attached to other things in the body. So
is it like with so here's how I'll connect it, really.
Yeah.
So with like delta 9 tetrahydrocannabinol, like the way that connects when it passes through the blood-brain barrier is like it actually has like the shape. The negative fucking imprint for like a receiver, and it's like and like locks on, and then you're like, oh,
So it
is that what a virus does? Is it like grab on to fucking...
so it can actually do that with certain things. When I was listening, so one of the things that I've listened to quite a lot is This Podcast Will Kill You. They had a corona virus episode recently as well, and they were talking about SARS. So with SARS, like I said, coronavirus as well.
Sudden acute respiratory syndrome.
Yes. That also attaches to angiotensin in the lungs. That's why it's so bad for the lungs. Yeah. And so we do actually have medication called ACE inhibitors, which works on that pathway, but they haven't been able to properly link it as something that would help something like SARS. We don't know what.
Because it hasn't been eradicated.
No,
so to speak,
no. Like, yeah, as far as I know, it hasn't been eradicated. But it's just more little things lying in wait to pop up and destroy everything. I mean, the thing is, the difference between sort of SARS, MERS, and the novel coronavirus that's around at the moment is,
So are they all coronavirus?
They're all coronaviruses.
They called it corona because it looked like a fucking crown or
whatever. Or
like
when you look at a sun and it has that edges on the edge.
Because that's what we say, coronal mass ejection, CME, around the sun.
That's exactly that. Exactly that. So it's based off the crown shape, and that's they're normally zoological.
So why doesn't this one have a cool acronym then? Like we made Middle Eastern.
So they haven't actually had time to make up a cool acronym yet.
This one's just being called novel coronavirus or whatever.
Was it NCOV-19? Isn't that what it's been called?
Come on, scientists.
Yeah.
All right. By the end of this episode, we'll coin a cool acronym.
Yeah.
That's all I'm gonna think about.
I mean, I think it's more they haven't had time to coin a cool acronym yet, unfortunately.
But this one, so do they all do the same? I mean, not this. So what do they all do? They're all respiratory.
No, so like I said, the coronavirus thing that shares in common is it all is zoological in nature. So an animal will have it first and it passes to a human.
So is that what just coronavirus is?
Yeah.
Like
so
the blanket term of coronavirus means is a zoological term.
That has that certain distinct look under electron microscope.
Oh.
So it can actually cause gastrointestinal issues as well. And the common cold.
So what is like gastro, like, that you would get? Like,
depends on what's actually causing it.
Is that just a full blanket term for a bunch of shit as well? Like
when
you would get what about like, so what is it when you get that hell fucked up gastro where you're like sick, vomiting, diarrhea, fucking...
You mean like norovirus?
I don't know.
I mean, like it depends on what it is, because a cold...
Because I've had doctors say that to me before. They'll be like, oh, you got gastro. Like,
yeah.
Fuck does that mean then?
Yeah. It's more gastro symptoms.
And you just like go take electrolytes and rest, like.
Yeah. There's not much.
So is that a virus?
So it depends on, like I said, what's causing it. It can be a virus. It can be
like
a
coronavirus.
Bacteria.
Also, just like rhino fucking whatever, like, which is like the flu, like fucking colds sort of shit.
So colds are different to flus.
Yeah, because like that's what I was saying before, when people will be like, "I got the flu," and it's like, "No, you got a cold," because like flu, you're fucked up. Like,
Yeah.
influenza fucked up. Like.
There's slightly different symptoms between the two. Like colds, you're less likely to have a fever. Yeah, so colds, it's more you have the cough, the sneeze. You're not as likely to have fevers.
Yeah.
But then with flus, you have the fever, the body aches, chills, and then obviously you might have a cough or something like that. But it's not the same kind of respiratory illness.
So SARS is respiratory.
Yeah.
Coronavirus is respiratory.
Yes.
Plus a bunch of other shit, or
at the moment,
because what separates them all then, is it just like they've emerged at different times from different animals, so they're just different things? Like,
well, it's a different biological makeup. Obviously, it would look the same, but it would have different proteins on it.
Yeah, and they interact with the body differently, and so like.
But the thing is, like, so to sort of say how like SARS and MERS was different, so MERS also affected the kidneys as well.
Ooh.
So it's just like that little bit extra that happened. But the thing is,
coronavirus seems is it way more infectious then? Like,
I mean, it at the moment it's sort of hard to tell because the whole outbreak hasn't had its course.
Yeah,
you can't really say a lot about how infectious it is, what's the death rate. Anything
did SARS
like that.
spread this rapidly?
SARS did not spread this rapidly.
Or MERS?
Not, but they had higher death rates.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So therefore, that limits its spread in some aspects.
If it kills its off its host too quick.
But you wouldn't imagine in fucking, the past 10 years that's much of a fucking vector, because it's not like we're all living in caves now, so as soon as most people get sick, they're going to fucking hospitals and getting quarantined and shit. It's not like they're dying on the road on the way to the fucking hospital. Some people obviously are, probably, but...
Yeah, but...
that would have been a problem back in the day. Like, you'd be like, if the thing is that deadly that it's killing people off before they have a chance to infect way more hosts, then it just wipes itself out before
exactly,
it can spread,
it's very self-limiting. Yeah. But, so with coronavirus, like, obviously it does seem to be where they're quarantined, it does seem to be spreading quite quickly, as I was saying.
So that diamond cruise ship thing, like,
let's have a little
dive
look
into that then, like,
that
thing, and isn't like Jack was saying, like, they reset, the quarantine gets reset like every time they find a new fucking case, and they're just finding new cases like every 15 minutes.
I haven't sort of looked into that. So, is it really that much?
I heard, like,
Diamond
today
Princess,
they were saying it was like
135. How can it be that much? Surely it's not that much. Is it? Okay, so...
I thought it was more.
yeah, it's just more looking at all these things. 65
I was about
cases.
About to say like 640, but then I was like, no, that was like how many people had died or something.
No, so, on the BNO website, one of the ones I've shown you that has all the sources about where the viruses are coming from.
I'll trust you.
It's 135 cases have now been found on the Diamond Princess as a total. And once again, because you've got everyone stuck in the same space, the first argument that it was a droplet spread disease. So obviously, when you sneeze, you have the droplets, it goes somewhere. It will only last, I think, 3 to 5 days.
What, like as a airborne thing? Or?
So there's a difference between droplet and airborne. Droplet, it's in
your saliva and shit?
And mucus.
Yeah.
And it's a droplet.
And that can live, like,
it's
if you
on
spat
something.
on the table or some shit, like, how long would that live for?
It would depend on also the conditions and stuff like that. So there's no actual data on how long this lives as droplets, or it would be, so the issue is...
Or just like, say, a generic thing, like, what's an example of, like, a fucking... What's another thing that's mucus
based?
Spread, like
I said, it can be hours to days, but it normally depends on the conditions as well. So it has to be the right conditions. And that's why...
Imagine if this shit can just, like, last for days.
The
whole boat's just fucking riddled.
Well, the thing is,
fucking...
it's if someone's sneezing and coughing and spreading it around, because it can spread on things like fomites. So
What's that?
it's objects that we touch. In the healthcare setting, it would be like a stethoscope or that doctor's coat that they never change.
But like on a cruise ship, humans are fucking filthy animals.
Yeah.
People are just touching fucking railings and...
Exactly. So it's that touching and then touching your face, your nose, your eyes. And that's why face masks aren't the be-all, end-all to protecting you from something else, because you can still get stuff in your eyes. People are always moving those face masks as well. They're only meant to be worn for a certain amount of time before you can change them too. So you
need like a full World War II style gas mask over your whole head and like full silicone rubber face mask with like carbon filters on and
respirator.
Shit.
Yeah.
In a bunker, sealed, pressurized.
Yeah.
I hear what you're saying, Erin. It's the end of the world.
Well, actually, one thing I was going to add is I have seen some reports actually thinking that it might be airborne.
Well, that's what I was saying in that thing where I saw the people commenting on Reddit about the plague upgrade.
Yeah.
That was in a thing where they were like, is it fucking airborne now? Like, blah, blah, blah. But that was just Reddit.
So,
but Reddit's usually pretty accurate.
I'm just going to write my academic article.
It depends where you're sourcing it from. Reddit's just a board for posting links to other things.
But still misinformation can come from it. So I have seen that it could actually be airborne. And
I think it was like a CNN article or some shit.
Yeah.
It's just blatant fear-mongering.
Yeah, well, the thing is that could also explain why, even with people being quarantined on the cruise ship, how it's still spreading. Because if you think about it, they've got the air conditioning systems that are moving everything around. So that's one thing, and that's why... I mean, still not saying it's super, super contagious, but if you look at something like measles. So measles is an airborne disease, can stay in the air for about 3 hours, I think, after the person's been there. And that makes it super contagious. But the thing is, measles, it's not big on it doesn't always kill people, but the issue is it can actually wipe out your immunity, your built-up immunity. So say you've had chickenpox before and then you get measles, well, you won't have immunity to chickenpox anymore.
Whoa, man.
That's
what
why...
the fuck is that?
Yeah, that's it. Did you know? Yeah.
I've heard about that because I think Jack
Yeah.
said that in the actual breakdown, and I remember having my mind blown there. But you're making me think about it now on on an evolutionary timescale. I'm like, how does that evolve? Like, what the fuck is... So what's measles? Is that a... Virus?
Yeah, airborne virus.
And that's got the ability now to basically sort of like resets your immunity fucking levels. Like,
Yeah, it sort of wipes out your built-up immunity that you've had, and it's what I've seen. It's normally a couple of years.
what sort of god would create a fucking evil thing like that?
One that likes to cause plague and pestilence.
Yeah, fuck yeah. Works at his advantage.
Yeah, exactly.
What the fuck?
Yeah, so, I mean, for the coronavirus...
How does that work? Do we understand that? Like, what's the mechanism behind that? With measles being able to, as a virus, being able to reset, like, your immunity.
I don't know quite how it works.
What the fuck is that?
All I know is that, it takes away your learned immunity to things. So it must do something to, the T cells?
That's so fucked up.
Yeah.
But...
What?
Couldn't you get measles then? And cure AIDS?
How's that work?
Because if it's using AIDS, your own immune system attacking your T cells, because they do your T cell count shit to be like, to read how bad the virus still is.
I think you would actually die from the measles.
Or get cancer then.
No.
And then, because AIDS cures cancer then by that logic.
I have actually heard, I thought
Because
maybe
cancer is
using
your
the
immune
flu.
system
Yeah.
attacking itself.
Yeah.
And AIDS...
No, so cancer is
cancer's a billion different
mutations.
things, yeah.
Yeah, it's mutations of the cells, abnormal mutations.
Because chemo in that idea is trying to kill off the fucking cells
to
that are
stop
replicating.
the quickly replicating cells. Yeah.
So in the long term, get AIDS, wipe your immune system out completely.
No, that's not how it works. That's not how it works. Because you're immunocompromised, if you had the measles, you wouldn't have an immune system to fight off the measles and you would die.
We'll come back to it. Put a pin in it.
Oh, God. Actually, that's one thing that I wanted to talk about with Jack. Fucking Jack. Fucking Jack. So let me just bring up my little point.
It's sulfur, Jack, you idiot. It's sulfur dioxide.
Yeah, sulfur dioxide, SO2. That's one thing. Okay, so Jack was arguing about the whole fact that the reason that...
Jack's always arguing about something.
I know, but the one he argued on the breakdown was the reason that... what was it? The Europeans don't get AIDS as often.
AIDS because they got the plague.
Well, yeah, because Europe got the plague, but the plague is actually endemic to parts of Africa as well. So your logic's flawed.
Yeah,
Stop
Jack.
Stop spreading your lies.
What about if that area of... But then why did they... Just thinking.
Why they what?
Why did the plague manage to... Like, how quickly does the plague kill off its host?
I'm not too sure how quickly it actually does it, and it would
because it can't be that quick if it... but...
It would be also based off what kind of plague you have, because there's 3 different types. There's pneumonic, bubonic, and septicemic.
Say the bubonic plague, which is the one that everyone always talks about.
Oh, okay, so the bubonic plague...
Is that the cool one with those plague doctors, like in that picture behind you?
Well, so that mask is actually more useful for the respiratory symptoms, the pneumonic plague.
Was the idea behind that it was like the long nose would like filter shit out?
Yeah, or they could put
like...
nice smelling things in so they didn't have to smell the disgustingness of everything. So the bubonic, it works in the lymphatic system, and that's why you get the bubons where the glands swell up and then they can break down. Yeah. Obviously, and the bubonics normally spread by fleas. So the pneumonic plague...
So does it kill off the fleas as well? Or do fleas have lymphatic systems?
No, because obviously there's some things that are vectors. So like mosquitoes for mosquito-borne illnesses.
Things killed more people than fucking anything.
They're the worst. They are the worst in the world. So yeah, it doesn't kill off the flea. It's kind of like with tick-borne diseases as well. It doesn't kill off the tick. And then, pneumonic is spread respiratory, and septicemic is when it gets into the bloodstream. So, yeah, there's...
That's right, because we had that discussion about... What was it? Like, we were like... antiseptic, stop you going septic. Antibacterials, stop bacteria.
Yeah, I think I remember hearing about that.
What's an antibiotic do then? Stop you being biotic?
Oh, God. Yeah.
This is a failure of the education system, Erin.
Just don't take antibiotics for viruses, yo.
Or the real failure of the education system, though, is like, why do we have a re-emergence of, like, put all of this fucking new shit that we can't help because it's always evolving? But shit that we've already got rid of before, like measles, why does that come back on a massive fucking scale? Okay. Not on a huge scale, but...
Not huge at the moment.
And the thing that's hell tragic that I kept arguing with people all the time is that it's so much more likely to affect areas that are like low socioeconomic, like when it hits like fucking like islands in fucking Fiji or like Samoa and
where they
shit,
don't have access to the vaccine.
And all these cunts that fucking compromise herd immunity go over there and then fuck it up for everyone else that like might not be able to get fucking vaccinated.
Yeah. So it's it's interesting how disease is being spread where you can get vaccinations and you have the haves that have readily access to it and they choose not to. And then the people that are in sort of developing countries where they don't have access to it, where they're dying for it, where they want the vaccination, but they just don't have the access to it. So yeah, it's definitely to do with the just trying to remember. There's a certain name, the socio determinants of health. Social
where it
determinants of
actually
health.
factors in.
Yeah. So it's like access to healthcare, what's your education, how much money do you have, what's the political system like?
Because that correlates into as well. They say like as women are more in areas that get better access to education, that the rate of childbirth decreases because women are more want to go do their own shit, like that they
but
can
it's
go
not
fucking.
Also that, but they actually have knowledge of what they can do to prevent getting pregnant. Yeah,
that's what we need more of.
What, preventing pregnancy?
Yep.
Yep. Unwanted ones. But yeah. So, so it's a lot of, with measles, it's a lot that to do with access to information, but then also there's misinformation spread on the internet based off that guy in UK who actually put out the journal article in the Lancet that said that made the link between the MMR vaccine and autism.
Yeah.
And then they brought out the fact that, oh no, he was actually getting paid off by lawyers and stuff like that to falsify this evidence, and people will still cite that as a reason not to get the vaccine.
Because it takes 2 seconds to just spit out some bullshit, but then it takes 5 minutes to refute it and be like, no, that was all bullshit. So like, here's why people are like, no, you're bought and paid by Big Pharma, you fuck.
I like Big Pharma really have a cure for cancer, but they're not giving it to us because they want to get more money off cancer.
Yeah, and you're like, who are these fucking soulless people that work in this organization that like their family members are dying of cancer and shit? And
it's just insane. It's insane. Some of the.
But then doesn't that make
conspiracies.
you think that we're just doomed anyway?
I mean,
that's the way that like. The access to information that we have, and then it just allows echo chambers to form where people will just argue their own fucking retard point back and forth and be like, no, I don't care.
Yeah.
I Googled it. What do you know? And you're like, I got a fucking 8-year medical degree, you fuck.
Yeah. FYI, not a doctor.
Yeah, they're like,
but yeah.
I Googled it. I Googled this. And it's like,
yeah, but
kill yourself.
Yeah, look at peer-reviewed journal articles. Except for the ones that were published in the Lancet that then got retracted. But yeah, it's a lot of misinformation, unfortunately, on the internet nowadays. There's too much out there and a lot of crap that you have to get through.
Makes me think we're doomed.
We're all going to die.
I know. It's just whether we get to witness the end of it all, or whether we get to witness the zenith, where like, you know, for the past how long we've been going up and going, it's all good, and then we get to this point where it's like, got too good, and you're all fucking idiots now, and and it just fucking peters off, because, you know, some crazy disease starts fucking spreading, and people don't vaccinate their fucking children, and...
Well, have you seen Contagion?
Maybe.
Oh, so good. It's got Kate Winslet in it. She's an epidemiologist. It's either a cold or a flu that spreads all over the world and ends up killing a third of the population.
That's not the one with the little macaque, is it? Like the little monkey, and that starts it off by fucking spreading
isn't that Outbreak?
That's Outbreak,
yeah. That's got hemorrhagic fever, doesn't it?
I can't remember. That was like the classic one where they're all in fucking like yellow suits and shit. And...
Oh no, so this one's it was
like some of them
late
were
2000s.
I watched a thing the other day where it was like an epidemiologist on fucking GQ breaking down like Outbreak movies.
Yeah.
And like in Outbreak, it was a chick and she's like pulling apart. She's like, what the fuck are these people doing? Like some of them are wearing face masks, others aren't. Like, some people are wearing gloves, others aren't. Like, a dude that's wearing gloves shakes hands with a person as he walks in. You're like, what the fuck is going on?
The new Netflix series, was it Pandemic? Yeah.
So that lost me. I watched like 2 episodes and then I was like, I'm bored.
I totally got into
Where's the
that.
outbreak? I was like, I need to see some death. I want to see some mass death. Does that take place later on?
Not really.
Ugh.
No.
It's just a boring fact-based
But
fucking show.
it was interesting actually having the people that had the flu in India and the doctors were wearing the face masks, but then their hands, they had nothing on their hands. And so based on different kind of precautions in a healthcare facility, so standard precautions is for everyone because I don't know what the fuck you could possibly have.
Mm-hmm.
Contact precautions would be something that spread contact. So bacteria like MRSA and vancomycin resistant enterococci. That's contact precautions.
Sounds scary.
And then, like I said, droplet precautions. So that's more like influenza. And for that, you have to wear a gown, the gloves, a mask, glasses, and then you go for airborne, where it's kind of like that, but then you need the N5 respirator, and it's better to be in a negatively pressured room. So, yeah. It's kind of like, just looking at that, because gloves are always kind of like, you're coming into contact with body fluid. Yeah,
we use like double gloves in SES. We'll wear like biological gloves on first and then like big fucking, like motorbike gloves over the top. So like they're so you can't get cut yourself with tools, but then also you can handle bodies and shit, and then take your outer gloves off and your inner gloves, and you've had like 2 layers of protection through. Then go wash your hands, and
but
they still have to drive home. It's like the biggest thing that everyone does though is wear gloves, but then touch your fucking face all the time.
Or they think because they've got gloves that they can keep on going around and touching things and not have to wash their hands. It's kind of like, no, you need to wash your hands between this and this and this. But obviously, like I was saying, in this kind of thing, it's contact precaution. They should be wearing gloves and you just see nothing. And then, like I said, because they're wearing, it's just a normal surgical mask. So, like, they'll touch their nose, they'll bring it down to talk to the person, and then there's a chance of getting in the eyes and the nose and the mouth.
This is what I wanted to drive home as well. I was like, see, that just speaks to me as well, that we can't we're such base animals, that we're so instinct driven, that even if we know there's like a deadly fucking pathogen around, you can still just forget and be like, yeah, hey, how you going there? And I was like, oh, wait, oh, fuck, damn it. And you're like, fucking kill yourself or whatever. Like,
well, it's just like, the easier kind of thing. Yeah.
And that, to me, is like speaks to our base instinct, which is what I was saying earlier about the whole, like, where it's okay to be scared, it's not okay to be racist, but, like, they're driving home. I made the argument in the timeline where I was like, you can see all these racist headlines and shit where they're just being fucking idiots, where it's like, pandemonium, Chinese thing, and you're like, what the fuck, yo?
I saw that
so
and I was
racist.
just like, oh, but the pandas.
Yeah, I was like, pandas are adorable. Don't drag pandas into your fucking xenophobia.
But pandas are in China.
Exactly.
In the Sichuan province,
So, pandas, China, coronavirus. It all makes sense.
The pandemonium.
Yeah. Like yellow peril and fucking yellow alert.
That's what I wanted to say with the yellow peril and stuff like that. So I heard a lot of those kinds of things more related to the Second World War with the Japanese. Yeah.
That's where it all came from.
Oh, okay, because you were saying it was more from Chinese people that came across. This was
in a recent, 2 weeks ago, a French paper used the term yellow peril on their front page with a chick, with a Chinese woman with a face mask on. That's what I was referencing. And then I go, the term yellow peril came from, World War, where we were like, don't let these fucking people come in. And then, America had the exclusionary period where they just shut themselves off from Chinese immigration.
Yeah, but the thing is, it started from the Japanese.
Yeah, it was yellow peril.
But then they brought it to all of Southeast Asia, yeah.
And then yellow alert was the next one. And then red alert with the Chinese flag and shit. And I was like, fucking hell. But what I was going to say, though, is, I still get the whole, tribal shit of humans freaking out when an unknown threat appears. Like,
Yeah.
people try and virtue signal so hard and be like, oh, that's racist. And it's like, yeah, if you're like the fucking executive of a newspaper or a shop owner and you're not letting fucking someone that looks Chinese come in when they're like a fucking 5th generation Australian or
there
some
was
shit,
one
like...
where like there was a Asian looking doctor and the patient refused to let them touch them or anything like that because they were Asian
then,
and they thought it was going to relate to the coronavirus.
But then no one goes like when I was making the joke earlier, you go like, but it's just sensible for the Queen Mary 2, QE2, whatever the fuck the boat's called.
Yeah.
To go, no, we're not going to take this boat of fucking 900 people into a fucking pandemic zone. Like,
I mean,
we'll fucking turn
Singapore's
it around.
not as bad as mainland China.
But they're just being... But then, because after going to Singapore, it was meant to be going to fucking Shanghai or some shit as the next stop. So they were like, we're just going to stop at fucking Singapore and we're just going to go to Fremantle instead. No one looks at that and goes, well, that's racist. Why aren't you continuing your trip to China? Like,
because it's in quarantine.
Because it's in fucking quarantine. Like, that's what we mean.
Yeah.
And then these poor fucking dudes that are on that boat, that Diamond Princess, all these fucking poor cunts that are going to end up, that are on fucking Christmas Island and everything. It's just like... But I still get it. I'm like, it's a quarantine, like... Yeah.
It's the greater good for the mass amount of people and putting the small amount of people at, in harm's way to try and stop the spread. Another series.
You'd just be one of those brutal fucking... In the movie, you'd be that doctor that's like dragging a child away from its fucking mother and they're like... Because you've scanned its eye and its retina's come up all fucked up and it's got the virus and they're like... You're like... Quarantine it! The mum's like, no!
They're actually doing that in China. Like, they're coming and ripping people out of certain apartment buildings and
so is
shit
this
like
not
that.
the beginning of our own End of the World movie?
Maybe it's the end of just China. Because like I said, that's the main place where it's actually quarantined.
But they were saying that like even after they shut down Wuhan and they were like, sorry, we're cancelling fucking Lunar New Year parties right now and because everyone's going to be fucking moving. All these fucking rich CCP motherfuckers that have connections were just getting on private planes and just fucking off out of the quarantine zone wherever they could.
That's why you need a private plane.
But see, so the fucking the standard operating procedure doesn't fucking work then if cunts just flaunt the system and just go... And as if, like, they're not going to be not taking their fucking wives and kids, and those kids haven't not been at a fucking school with 800 other fucking kids. One of them has it, 10 of them have got it, 100 of them have got it, one cunt leaves on a plane, now it's in fucking Finland or some shit.
It's also one of the things with coronavirus, so you're infected.
I sound like that dude that's like, shut the boys!
Well, the issue is you can be infected and spreading it with it before you even showing symptoms. And there's asymptomatic. So if you think about like Typhoid Mary.
Because that happened in Germany or some fucking place. Typhoid Mary's fucking loose story.
But that's why I was thinking like that's the best way to show it because she had typhoid, but she was totally asymptomatic and they kept on testing her and going, no, you haven't. She's like, but I don't show any symptoms.
And she kept moving and cooking food at
and spreading love, spreading the typhoid love. So that's one of the other issues. And then they've had things about the articles about people taking, so in Australia it would be paracetamol, in America Tylenol. I can't remember the
Tylenol PM.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty much the same drug, but they just call it something completely and utterly different. Them using that, it's an antipyretic, helps lower your body temperature, and using it to
get through the fucking scanny thingies, temperature fucking checkpoint.
Yeah. That's it.
See, then...
But at the same time, like, whenever you feel sick and, like, when you were younger, or, like, someone just goes, oh, just take a couple of Panadol, you'll be fine.
But not when there's a fucking possible pandemic.
Not when you're actually purposefully trying to cover your fever you can get out.
This is why in the movies, then the military has to come in and be like, right, fucking fence this area, and like this is the gated checkpoint. Every fucking person comes through here, and we fucking scan you, and then like I said, and then there's cunts getting dragged away from their fucking families because they're like, you're infected, mate. What are you doing? He's like, no, I'm fine.
I mean, I think like the test for the coronavirus that they've got now, I think it takes about 24 hours to actually process to find out what it is, and then it would be viral swabs. So there's no quick, easy, like, it is quick and easy, but it's not super quick and
there's
easy.
no, like,
yeah,
fucking caster thing.
Yeah, no, at the moment they're just doing temperature checks. Yeah.
Coronavirus.
Yeah. If only. Let's just take a little bit of blood. Oh, no.
Yeah.
No.
No.
You're kind of fucked.
No
So
border crossing for you.
Yeah. I mean, it would make it so much easier if that was the case, but yeah, no.
Well, I for one envision some sort of Judge Dredd style apocalyptic future where we're all living in mega cities that are cut off and quarantined from each other, and to get through you've got to be scanned, and they'll be like, boop boop. No, sorry, you've got like H fucking 10.
Or would it be that you've come from this area which has, we know you guys have this, and we don't want any chance in hell of this getting into
you
us
could
yet?
be some new fucking asymptomatic person that we haven't seen before that gets in. Where do we go from here, Erin? What's the end game? Will it kill itself off and we'll all live happily ever after, or will it be a new thing we just deal with forever?
I mean,
like
that's
SARS
the thing.
and MERS or whatever.
Well, SARS and MERS, there's not huge outbreaks. And it could be that, you know, people will get a certain amount of immunity and that will cut it off. It could also be that there's people working on vaccines to try and help it. Unfortunately, there's nothing medicine-wise we can, like, someone could give you if you have coronavirus. It's just supportive therapy. So whether it be fluids,
Palliative care.
No, because not everyone dies from it. There's been quite a few people that recover it. So, like, you know, IV hydration, like if you start.
So what
having
happens if
issues
you're
with
just
your-
like a healthy individual and you get it, and you've got medical treatment available, like at
supportive
the hospital
treatment?
or whatever? Yeah, like when you've got that, like, do you just get the sniffles or whatever, or like do you start hocking shit up hell bad? Or...
so I assume because it's more respiratory based, it's like the fever and then the sneezing, coughing, those kinds of things.
Like, is it phlegmy? Do we know that? Is it like fucking? Because isn't pneumonia's fucking fluid?
But there's different types of pneumonia.
Medicine's hard.
So, like I said, there's bacterial pneumonia, so bacterial infection.
So
there's viral
pneumonia.
Yeah, it would be
obviously, 'cause
viral
it's a
pneumonia.
virus?
Yeah.
So what does that do? Is there other what's another viral pneumonia candidate that we could use it as example?
So theoretically, I think influenza can cause viral,
I heard a fun fact
Yeah.
that was like people that break their ribs. This was on like Radiolab or some shit, and it was a doctor saying it. So I was like, all right, it's an argument from authority, but I'll just take it as a fact.
Yeah.
But it was one of those crazy things that's now been proven, but you were like, you wouldn't think there's a correlation. And people with like that break ribs are way more likely to get pneumonia, and it was because of a broken rib. You're not able to cough comfortably like you can fucking normally.
Exactly.
Like you're just like, ow, like, and you don't clear your lungs like you would normally by going, like,
yeah.
And then they were like, why do have you and there was just some shit where someone did a case study and they were like, 70% of like pneumonia cases or whatever had a person that had broken a rib in 10 months before or something.
So that would be more like a bacterial, because you're not be able to move it, and that's why when you have people that are smoking, they're more likely to get pneumonia as well, because they don't have the smoking burns off the cilia that helps move mucus
out.
up into the, either for you to cough out, to bring up, or you can actually bring it back down and swallow, and that's why more likely to get coughs and everything.
That's why when you quit smoking or go without smoking for a while, you get the gnarly fucking coughs and the phlegm and shit, because you're actually starting to finally fucking start clearing shit out.
Yeah, but the thing is, you never grow that cilia back. Once they're gone, they're gone. It's just more, your body's trying to move stuff around because it's functioning better.
So, what do we reckon is the end game, though?
What do we reckon the end game is?
Will it
I've
kill
heard
itself off? Will we live with it forever? Or?
I reckon it's probably always going to be something that could pop up its head as a viral.
Are we just going to get more fucking coronaviruses all the time then, if we just keep eating fucking snakes and bats and fucking
So I mean, there is the
There's
argument.
swine flu fucking everywhere. It's fucking.
So with the bird flu, it's more like close contact, living close with animals. With this,
Because at first they couldn't be transmitted to human, was it? Like swine flu first was like going through like the pig population and fucking up all of our pigs, and like chickens would get bird flu and shit. But then like was it like 2013 or whatever that like the one of them jumped fucking thing and everyone freaked the fuck out.
Yeah, so it jumped from the pig to the human.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
And what was that? Is that just like
it's
it
just
evolved
a mutation?
And it just mutated and went fucking yoink.
Yeah. Just
we're fucked. We're all gonna die. I know we're all gonna die.
Yeah. I mean,
humans aren't. We have this thing that like we're so like permanent, and we're so not like.
No.
We're just like a passing phase in evolution of like what, like you said, we're just vessels to carry bacteria around. Like,
yeah.
One of them's just going to wipe us out eventually and just go, oh, I found it's easier to just live with fucking elephants or some shit and just fucking kill humans off. They keep trying to like make antibacterial soap and shit and trying to fuck with it, and we're going to make some like, because is it Mercer? Fucking Mercer, whatever's the crazy fucking staph.
Methicillin-resistant Staphylococcus aureus. Yeah.
Was that the one that they... What was the one that they had that thing in the US where they tried to rip that fucking room apart?
Okay, so...
And then get the UV machine in and fucking blast the room and it still didn't fucking kill it.
Back to your love of funguses. So it was actually, yeast-based. Candida aureus. So...
Some filthy fucking vaginal infection in this hospital.
Not quite, but for that one, it's more, once again, it's immunocompromised people. If you have HIV, if you have, if you're getting cancer treatment or something like that, so you don't have the immunity there.
Didn't the dude die? Like the dude died. Like in that case, in the room where they had to tear it apart, didn't he eventually? Like he died, and then
I think like a lot of the time, if they're infected with it, and it's the case where they're immunocompromised, like they haven't got an antifungal treatment that will actually get rid of it. And the issue with funguses are they're so close to humans that's really hard to actually make something to kill it. So yeah, I mean, it's not something that you really want in hospitals because you already have people that are sick. And that's...
Are hospitals themselves just becoming fucking cesspools for disease and shit that are just evolving from all of the constant, like, bombardment? They're challenged, and challenge creates evolution.
Okay, so there's different kind of ways where antibiotic resistance comes about. So if we can talk about that, if you want to go that way. So it's factory farming as well because they're giving them antibiotics when they don't need to. It's misprescription of medications.
Antibiotics when we don't need them and shit.
When you don't need them, or you're not finishing the course, or you're giving it for the wrong infection. So just because it's an antibiotic doesn't mean it's right for that specific bacteria. And then obviously it's the mishandling of antibiotics as well. So I think, I can't remember, there was somewhere in Australia where they had antibiotic resistance breakout, and it was because people were discarding unused antibiotics down the drain and sink in a hospital.
Whoa.
And that's where it sort of comes from, because you're just letting it loose and giving a chance for it to evolve. And if you think about, if everyone's doing that a little bit each day, then the bacteria can go, oh, okay, so I've seen this before, and it can
adapt,
grow resistance,
adapt, overcome.
Yeah.
So hospitals are doomed.
I wouldn't put it that way, but I would like, sometimes when we have things like last year when we had the really bad flu outbreak, I feel like it would have been good just to put everyone with the flu in a certain section instead of the fact because there were so many people in the hospital, it had to go.
Oh, you mean in the hospital?
Yeah,
I thought you meant like in society.
No,
and I was like,
no.
"Whoa,
I meant
Erin,
in the
I'm
hospital
impressed."
because
I'm impressed with your candor.
No, just like in a certain section of the hospital. More.
I also think we should just camp people.
Yeah, just because obviously it's more likely to spread within the hospital.
We had this problem at my work where there's three of us. There's only three of us that work for the company. One dude came in, hell sick.
Was it Jack?
Not Jack.
Okay.
Is the other guy. And Jack and I were like, what the fuck, mate? Like, he rocked up and he's like... and we were like, you're hell ill, man. Are you alright? He's like, yeah, this should be alright. And I was like, fuck's sake. And it was less than 24 hours later, all three of us were fucking ill. And we were like ill for, I think like it was on like a Tuesday. We were all off until like Wednesday the next week. Like, just fucking
But the thing is,
out
like,
of it.
different things have different incubation periods as well. Hence why the people that are being quarantined, it's for 14 days because they think...
They don't even know though, do they?
No, it's all guesstimates. Like,
Jackson hate that you said that word.
Well, it is. That's what science is. It's
guesstimate's not
theories.
a real word though. It's an estimate.
No, it is an estimate.
I love it. I always say guesstimate because it annoys Jack.
Oh, okay, right.
Because it's a combination of like a guess and an estimate.
Yeah,
That's what an estimate is. It's an educated guess, but it's a guesstimate.
Yeah. Sounds a lot better when you say guesstimate.
I just like that we've said it like 15 times now.
Yeah. So a lot of this kind of stuff, it is just theory. So it's basing it off coronaviruses that have already happened.
SARS and MERS or whatever.
Yeah, but obviously this is different because well, no, but it's the
I know,
same
but that's
different.
what makes you think. So you go, so cool. What happens when we go like this one actually had like an incubation thing of like fucking 30 days or whatever, and we didn't even realize, and everyone in China's actually fucking infected, and it's spread all through fucking Europe or whatever. But like the people that haven't shown symptoms are just the ones that have a weird fucking. It's brown-eyed people that haven't fucking shown something, you know, like...
Yeah.
We're just making it up as we go along.
Well, it's kind
That's what
of
science
like,
is.
Yeah, just saying, okay,
I know it. I respect it.
Does this support my theory? Yes, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Tick. Does this support my...
But that's what freaks me out so much. Like, I love science. I love the scientific method, but I know how fucking susceptible we are to a, like, complete systematic failure of if people don't, like... follow the advice. Like that doctor that died in China was one of the first dudes going, this is fucking something different. We should probably be a bit concerned. And that was when the CCP was being all like, oh, no, fucking
well, the thing is, like...
And he's now dead.
There were some arguments that... So it was always around the start of December, but they really didn't... Like, and there were stuff in infectious disease news where they were kind of like, oh, yeah, there's something kind of happening in China. We don't quite know what... and it wasn't until
spooky being on the inside of it.
It's not really the inside. It's more just it wasn't as documented in the media, and it wasn't until it sort of really started breaking out for December 31st when they sort of actually started announcing things.
Yeah, when they were like in this Wuhan fish facility.
Yeah, exactly, and then that's why people have sort of been going, oh yeah, just the last couple of weeks, and being like, no, it's December. Since December, this shit's been going on. It's just, it's taken time to find out what it is, to actually get the information out for them to say, hey, this is an issue, for who to go, oh, cool, thanks for actually letting us know, China. Thanks for not fucking us around like you did with SARS and lying about it.
But didn't they still fucking piss fight around with it?
Oh yeah, they piss fight around with it for a while.
Didn't give us like the full genome or whatever, and then
oh yeah, they sort of gave us part of it,
partial
and then,
fucking sequences, and we were like, but then like we replicated it in Australia, and then China was like, oh, we did it a few days ago as well, but we just like
don't want to share it with you because
communism.
I was thinking commies, but also like sort of political secrets, like state secrets. Yeah.
So then,
but I'm not going to say coronavirus is going to be the end of the world.
Oh no, but I was just more going to say with that logic, then you'd be like, I agree with Jack. Then where you'd be like, well, if that's your attitude, China, when we develop a fucking vaccine, you don't get it. Like, you fucking cunts. What do you mean? Like, it's going to be a global pandemic. It's not like something you can monopolize and be like, oh, could we use this to our advantage? Like.
Well, that's the thing. That's what it could be, that if they wanted to use it to their advantage, they could
Weaponize it.
I wasn't going to say exactly weaponize it, but they could use it for trade agreements and things like that.
I mean, we've done that before. We've done shit where we've fucking put bats that had fucking plague and shit inside bombs and sent them over fucking countries during World War II and shit. And we've done all sorts of fucked up shit.
Yeah.
As if China wouldn't fucking Unit 741 their own fucking... As if that's not how they fucking came up with the fucking thing in the first place, probably. I'm saying it.
Yeah, well, yeah. I did try to start that theory with you as well, that it was all the Chinese again, because we know in the past that Japan has tried to poison spread biological warfare on the Chinese.
It wouldn't
just not very
surprise me if they just used a bunch of fucking Uyghur minorities and fucking... They're probably still doing it right now and, like, trying to come up with some sort of, as if they're not doing fucking medical experiments on the fucking Uyghurs. They're persecuting those cunts so hard right now. They're in, like, concentration camps and shit.
So is that the indigenous people?
China, the Muslim Chinese population.
It's also, like, the Tibetan people as well. So everything towards the west. That's where more
anyone that doesn't agree with CCP shit.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
And we're just like,
Or it's just like, the harvesting of organs that they talk about in China, where it's normally political prisoners and stuff like that, and they just, they don't need their organs.
Third world kidneys for captains of industry.
Yeah.
People that can afford it.
Exactly.
You're freaking me out, Erin.
Yeah. Look, the thing is, like, I will definitely agree with you. We're all kind of fucked, but I'm not going to say coronavirus is the reason that we're fucked. Yeah. Unless
more
you're in
people are
China,
going to die of heart disease and smoking and shit than
influenza. More people are going to die from the flu.
Man, malaria and a bunch of other things kill more people every fucking year.
Yeah.
But it's a fun, new, exciting one.
Exactly, and it's
scary.
It's fun to watch how big it is, because I've been like messaging you throughout the week going, oh my god, have you seen what it is now? And
when I first started it was fucking 11,000 when I did the episode, and then 251 deaths.
Yeah.
Now what is it now?
It's
What's
over 40,000.
Look at the game clock.
Yeah. Let me just bring that shit up.
And it was like 640 deaths or some shit, wasn't it?
No, it's more than that.
Closest without going over, say, 720 deaths.
No. So let's get let me just update it. Okay. So according to the BNO News, so a lot of people have been using the Johns Hopkins website. I find the issue with that is it doesn't have all the sources, and this one I've been using does take information from Johns Hopkins and WHO, but actually gives you all the sources. So it can be like, this is what's happened, or this is a lie, or this is being investigated. So for this one, there's currently 40,623 confirmed cases worldwide, including 910 fatalities. So the majority...
Are they all in mainland China?
That's what I was about to come to. So they've got actually the sections. So mainland China is broken up to the Hubei province, which is where Wuhan's located. So in there they've got 29,631 cases with 871 deaths. And then they got all the other regions in mainland China, which is just over 10,000 with 37 deaths. And then it brings out the regions of China like Hong Kong, Taiwan, Macau. And that's only 64 cases with 1 death. And the one that's actually, of all the countries, they're actually getting large amounts now. The biggest one is Japan, and that's not actually listed on their official website because, officially in Japan, because it's all the cruise ship ones. Yeah. It's because they're located around that region that they lump it into Japan. But yeah, Japan's the biggest. And as I said, because they've got everything quarantined, so everyone's stuck in one area and they're going to be catching it. The reason
That's
probably
just modern day plague shit.
Yeah. I mean, the reason why there's probably not, I don't think there's going to be the same amount of deaths from that cruise ship based on the fact that the cases aren't that high, so there'll be better access to healthcare instead of back where
I wonder if it was a seniors cruise, then they'd be pretty fucked. But if it's like a lot of like middle-aged, fairly healthy people that are on the cruise, families and shit.
Yeah, it just depends. Like, but obviously, 60, 65 male comorbidities most likely to die. And the reason why, like, as I was saying, I think the deaths are so high in Hubei province is because they don't have the access to the manpower for healthcare or the actual treatment as well.
Yeah.
Medical treatment.
So
So yeah, if you're in the Hubei province, you're pretty fucked. But outside of that, nah, it's not really much of a concern at the moment. A huge concern. It's good to watch though and talk about.
it's a fun scenario to run through.
Yeah. I mean, it would be better if this was a zombie apocalypse or something like that.
But that's what it's just practice for anyway.
Oh yeah,
It's
of
just
course.
That's what I'm just looking at this going. I'm just watching how quick it spreads going. Imagine if all these people were just eating people though.
Oh, like the way they died was a lot more dramatic.
Yeah,
like,
just
hemorrhagic
violent Ebola
fever.
sort of shit.
Yeah,
like-
hemorrhagic fever or something like that. But the thing is with hemorrhagic fever, like with Ebola, it's actually not super contagious. It's through bodily fluids. It's more just cultural practices over in Africa, and also mistrust in the political powers and the government and stuff like that. So that was leading to the spread of it.
You want one with like violently explosive hemorrhagic symptoms, like retching fucking your lungs up and
Your
shit.
chest
like,
explodes.
yeah, or
like, oh, so
even your pores just fucking
it's
rupture or
parasitic
some shit.
aliens. So everyone's coming out with the aliens bursting out of their chest. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Or just
I
like
don't want to have it, but
a
it
good,
would be interesting to watch.
good like just a good hemorrhaging, like your ears bleeding, some good like brain juice and your eyes popping out and shit, and just fucking everything going off. Then cunts would be freaking out.
Yeah.
Instead of just like the best I've seen is like, I mean not the best, but the most realistic where you're like, this is hectic, is like I've seen some videos of people going into like respiratory failure and shit on like the floors of hospitals or like
Oh, the ones
in
where they
China
just like
and shit,
fall
and
over.
Yeah, they're like you're just like, ooh, that looks pretty fucked up.
Yeah. I mean, it's fucked up, but it's not as dramatic as blood everywhere.
No.
Like a horror scene.
Or like Children of Men style shit, where if some disease started spreading like this that made people infertile. That's the whole premise behind Children of Men.
Yeah.
And people are freaking out because people can't give birth anymore, and everyone like there's like celebrities start becoming the people that are the youngest because they're like, you're now the youngest person that's alive, and then some person will get stabbed in a fucking bar fight, and they're like, now the fucking 22-year-old guy in America is the youngest guy that we have left. Like,
I mean, we haven't got diseases that are affecting reproduction. It's more our environment. Like things in the environment, like pollution.
We have a virus that can reset your fucking immunity.
Yeah, measles, but I mean, there's nothing... I mean, there are viruses that can actually, like, diseases that can make you sterile. So, I'm pretty sure the human papilloma virus can do that in some cases, and in...
I mean, if we had a disease that just, like, affected your, like... Is it your pituitary gland? Or
yeah,
like,
or just
that,
anything
like,
in your
like your hormones held bad.
reproductive
so
system. Yeah.
It's a fun afternoon thought experiment.
That would be, it doesn't have to kill you, but yeah, at the end of the day, it will stop reproduction.
Yeah, if it ruined everyone's, like, every male sperm count or, like, made all eggs infertile or some shit, you'd just be like,
I don't know, like, I wouldn't be worried as much with sperm being destroyed, but I'd worry more about the egg. because there are...
Mate,
like,
takes two to tango, Erin.
No,
I don't like your
but I mean, there's
feminist
more
leanings.
scientific ways to...
replicate sperm.
Yeah, or like to impregnate the eggs, and it's easier to work with the egg and add a little bit of DNA
Does
matter.
in vitro fertilization, doesn't that still require sperm? Though?
Yeah,
Like...
I think, but they're working more towards like with cloning and that kind of thing. Yeah, if you think about it that way. But it's because the sperm just has a little bit of genetic information, but the egg obviously has that whole process where it grows.
This is true.
So that's why it's not too bad if you lose a sperm, because I'm sure with the way that medicine works, they would be able to work out some way to fertilize those eggs or
just mush two eggs together and add
some kind
else.
of genetic splicing, dicing, injecting in there.
Add a little bit of fucking, try and find some fucking chimp DNA from fucking somewhere and bit of fucking pig DNA.
Some old corpse testicles.
Yeah.
Yep, here we go.
Easy. Science is easy.
Just fuck around until you find an answer.
That's all we do.
Yeah.
It's just lately we've started getting it all right, but you look at Plague Doctor or fucking anything through modern
well, that's the thing, like
recent history, we were just like, you what?
If I was in this kind of, like, if we had this kind of airborne respiratory disease that was really bad, the Plague Doctor mask would be good, but you'd want, like, the respiratory, like, the
N95.
Yeah, 95, 99 underneath, because the mask would at least stop you from touching your face.
Like that silicon mask over there near those headphones.
Your GIMP mask?
Yep. It's usually got a big bong attachment that goes on it.
Yeah. So it would be something that covers your whole entire face. Yeah.
Then you can get sexy and stay safe.
Yeah, well, yeah. That's why I still think the Plague Doctor mask is a lot more awesome.
Yeah. I'd love for that to come back.
Oh, you can buy them offline.
I know,
Don't worry,
but I mean, I'd love for that to be roaming society in like a fucking religious thing because the world's collapsed and
start your own religion, yo.
They're just roaming around all like,
But they don't do that. That's
what they do in Life of Brian. Or no, it's not.
No,
Life
I thought
Brian.
that was monks.
It's yeah, it's just the dudes in fucking what's the other one? Holy Grail, Monty Python and the Holy Grail. When they've got, but it's it's in the plague scene when everyone's running around. He's like, "Bring out your dead," and they're bringing out all plague victims and that. And then it's monks walking through, hitting themselves with the wooden board things to scare the plague away.
But they weren't wearing the plague masks.
They weren't wearing plague
that's
masks.
what I was saying. I'm like, no.
But it's the same era. It'd be cool to see those dudes just roaming around and monks walking around, and just because society's collapsed, and that's what they were saying with the spread of the plague, that helped spur the spread of fucking Christianity because it brought about such an apocalyptic atmosphere. Everyone in Europe's just freaking the fuck out. And it's killed fucking 50% of Europe's population, and they're all just like, it's the end of the fucking world.
Yeah, something to turn to, some kind of comfort.
There's a wicked scene from Medieval Lives, which is a show that, there you go, full circle, had Terry Pratchett. No, not Terry Pratchett. Terry Jones, who is from Monty Python.
Yeah.
But in his later years now hosts like a historical fucking show where he goes around and shows how people lived in certain medieval times, and he shows you like the life of a monk or a knight or what they would actually do. And he goes to this one monastery and there's graffiti there. It's just been carved into the brick wall, and it's dated like 13 something something, and it said something along the lines of like, a stale wind blows across the land and something something, Black Death 13 something something, and it was from some monk.
They're so much more poetic than us now.
Like full just fucking waxing poetic on this wall, like watch so many people die, and he's just carved it into the monastery wall. It was like he thought it was just the end of the world.
Yeah. And here we just write blah blah was here.
Yeah, was here.
Yeah.
Draw dicks on stuff.
Yeah.
See, it's the final days of Rome. We've come too far. We live in too much excess now.
Like I said,
We need a decent plague to thin the numbers.
I mean, admittedly, it's the way the world is. It's not ideal with the amount of humans.
Yeah. It's not a coincidence that most of these natural disasters and things, when the fatality rate is so high, it's in an area with massively higher population density.
Yeah.
Like when you have the Boxing Day tsunami and it kills hundreds of thousands of people, it's because it goes through a low-lying area where 1 million people live in a space the size of Perth, like fucking crushed against the coast in a floodplain. Like,
yeah.
You go, if they had the ability to move, but it's, that's their socio-economic lot, that's where they are. But then same thing with these diseases, they're like epidemics that'll spread. When we're saying with measles as well, like it hits areas that are like lower socio-economic so hard because they don't have access to medical fucking resources or
they don't
access
have
to information.
Information to prevent disease as well. Yeah. That kind of thing.
I still think it's the idea of the cordyceps and the ant colony, and our ant colony's got too big.
Well, at the moment, all I can really say is just make sure you wash your hands.
I don't think it's going to be cordyceps style, but I think that's what's going to happen is nature's going, oh, what, you think you can just have 10 billion fucking people, can you, on the fucking planet, and just factory farm and live the way you're living?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
And swine flu or something, bird flu is going to jump to some fucked up next level where it is hemorrhagic or some shit, and we're all going to be fucking spitting blood and running around freaking the fuck out. And it won't take long. That's what they argue, though, where they're just like, we're like 7 days away from food not being on the shelves if trucks aren't coming.
The peak of this new coronavirus is meant to be sort of March. They were predicting. I've heard predictions. That's where it's going to peak.
When I was at Bunnings today in Mandurah, I had to go and get some shit there. They sold out of the N95 masks that they had there in stock, and there was a Asian dude there asking for more.
Well, I've heard that people that have come back, they're self-quarantining. So it's not people that have tested positive, but there have been people that have been told to self-quarantine if they've come back from mainland China. And in those kinds of situations, they're still going out with their masks on. But like I said, they're touching their faces, they're pulling their masks down. It's not the best precautions that should be used.
So it's not going to hit its peak till March, you say?
That's what I've heard. And it's hard to say a lot about it, like how many people it's going to kill, what the infection rates are going to be like until the outbreak is over as well. Because it's a retrospective look.
Hindsight is 2020.
Yeah. So yeah, it's just one of those wait and see, and hopefully shit doesn't hit the fan here, and it probably won't.
Yeah, it won't. We'll be fine.
Yeah.
We're a first world country and we have good access to medical resources, but that's everything going accordingly.
Yeah. I mean, it would be, like I said, if we were in the China situation where it was locked down and there were too many infected people to actually be treated by the healthcare system, that's when you'd start getting more of an issue.
Yep. That's what I think we're heading towards, unfortunately.
What?
Not with coronavirus, but I just think the most likely doomsday scenario for me isn't going to be like nuclear war or fucking some crazy shit. It'll just be something like that. It'll be some new thing that comes along that we're just not prepared for, and people will start getting sick and we'll be like, oh, probably happened in China like it has the last 4 times over, and some fucking dude will eat some anteater somewhere or something and get some new fucking disease, and then it will be hemorrhagic and airborne and fucking droplet. And
it's pretty insane. Or it'd probably be something from a bat. That's where most of they're sort of saying a lot of things are coming.
Is that because they're so like?
I don't know why they're so good for diseases. Because they carry rabies and stuff like that.
just rodents in general, like rats and bats and things that carry ticks and fleas. Rabies is pretty fucking loose.
Yeah. But...
What's rabies? Is that a virus?
Yeah.
That's fucking wild, eh? How, like, it makes you want to bite and, like...
Oh, it makes you...
hate water,
scared
of fucking
hydrophobic,
water and shit.
Yeah.
That's fucking crazy, eh? Because that seems like that's, like, in the brain, like...
Yeah, well, it does affect the brain.
And making you all, like... It's like, that's, like...
It's not controlling, but it's messing with the nervous system.
Yeah. But, like, you know, like, making you fear water is...
Yeah.
That's controlling, and the fact that people like, here, drink, and you're like...
But that's the problem with rabies as well. It's very self-limiting.
Because it killed, like, well, then the host can't live very long. Not drinking water, and... But then, it just makes them want to bite other things to spread the disease as fucking quick as possible. What if rabies mutates?
Never know.
Has that happened?
I don't know off the top of my head, but...
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Man, imagine rabies mutates. We'd all be fucked.
It depends if it would be, so it would be worrying about, like how infective it would be. So if it became more infective, like in the zombie kind of thing where people, yeah.
Well, that's obviously where the idea, I mean, zombie hoodoo fucking is obviously a Haitian thing.
Yeah.
You'd imagine in history, that's just probably ingrained, and that's where the story comes from, is just fucking cunts getting rabies. And they're like, this idea of zombies is just people all fucking...
foaming at the mouth.
Bite you and shit. And...
Yeah. But, yeah, it's kind of like you have to have a perfect storm of the fact that it has to be really infectious, and then it has to... be deadly as well, but it has to be
not self-limiting.
Well, or the thing is, it might be one of those things where it is deadly, but say you get it, you're infectious for 3 weeks or something like that. For the first 2 weeks, you're asymptomatic but still infectious. So if you put it like that, and then by the end of it you die, that's something that you really have to worry about.
Hell high morbidity, but like a long incubation period.
Yeah,
and then it just spreads everywhere.
Yeah, where you're...
and then comes just start dropping dead everywhere.
Yeah, exactly. So it'd be one of those kinds of things where it would escalate. It wouldn't be one of those things where you'd be dead the next day. That's something that's very self-limiting.
Just start dying in their sleep.
Yeah. So it would be something where they would have to be infectious for a long time, and the symptoms don't seem that bad to start with, and they just progressively get worse.
Because that's sort of the problem in coronavirus as well, isn't it? That the symptoms are very, like, similar to just a lot of other shit. Of, like, just having a common cold and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Otherwise, you might have this crazy infectious fucking...
Yeah, so
virus.
It's hard to tell because, it does look like
and then you'd be like... I would not want to go to a hospital if I had, like, a cold or a flu or some shit and you were in a quarantine zone of, like... Because you'd be like, well, I'm guaranteed to find some people with coronavirus in large concentrations at this hospital.
Yeah. So,
I'll just run the risk that I just have the sore tickly throat at the moment.
I mean, that's the issue with Chinese hospitals. If you have actually seen some of the ones like...
Shanghai Airport was the shittiest airport I've been to in my entire fucking life.
No, how's it... Like, how's that got to do with the hospitals? Because
I don't know, but just I went to like in one trip when I was going to like all around North America, back through Singapore and went through China and that. Every other airport was at least just to standard of a thing. And then I went to Shanghai and I was like, what the fuck is this? There was mosquitoes all through the fucking airport.
I remember that, but I if I remember correctly, Chengdu's airport, it was like going back in time.
I came from Changi as well in Singapore, which is like number one airport in the world, and like everything's amazing. And then went from there straight to Shanghai, and I was like, what the fuck is going on here?
Yeah.
They still had like, I mean, this is sort of being insensitive to traditional shit, but because apparently like they have that idea of like warm water traditionally is good for you, even to drink. Because they're fucking...
It's because, if you have like boiling water means you're killing.
Nah, but
things.
it wasn't being boiled to sterilize it, because that was my first thought as well.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, are they having to fucking sterilize the water in their airport?
Some places they do
But
actually.
in
have
Shanghai,
to,
it wasn't, because I asked straight away. I was like, what the fuck? Because I got my bottle to fill it up, and it like condensed the inside got all steamy and shit. And I was like, it's fucking humid as. There's mosquitoes everywhere. I want a nice fucking, even just room temperature drink of water would be fine. And all they fucking had was like hot water out of these fucking things. And when I asked the fucking dude, he was like, oh, yeah, just tradition. Like it's because of, like fucking tiger fucking dick or whatever. A bunch of random shit that doesn't fucking do anything or have any fucking place in modern medicine.
No, so what I was actually going to say was the places that have been built recently, if you actually see them, some of them, it's just still multiple bedded rooms.
Yeah.
So that's where we're saying how it can spread. I've been inside a Chinese hospital in Chengdu, and that was the same kind of thing. It was just multiple people in a room. They didn't really, the places that I went to didn't seem to have that many places where you could quarantine a patient, but obviously you hope that hospitals would have that. But the interesting thing as well was the doctors' and nurses' quarters, which were on the ward. People like the healthcare staff would be smoking in that place, so the ward smelled like cigarette smoke.
I was also going to say, so like, how does a place like that like grapple with such a strong history of traditional medicine?
Oh no, so they do have traditional medicine sections in the most hospitals.
But how could you be like a world-class trained doctor that understands science and medicine and then be like, oh, but also here, try this fucking ground up rhino horn, which I know is fucking keratin, the same as your fingernails.
So,
you have to have such a cognitive dissonance to be like, I understand how science works, and now here, try this bullshit, gentlemen.
But the thing is, they have done tests to show that acupuncture in certain situations is effective. So it's more one of those things, if you can test it and actually find evidence to say, yeah, this actually does have a reason why it works. And that's the whole reason how they have found traditional medicines that do actually work.
That's not really what I'm saying, though.
Yeah, you're saying, no, it's a little bit different with...
Like, that's what people try and argue with homeopathy and fucking herbal medicine.
Yeah,
and
no, that's
like,
bullshit.
And you go, no, well, herbs, like, are actually fucking real in some aspects. Like, fucking paracetamol comes from a fucking tree and whatnot. There's various shit that is based in fucking being grown in your garden, but homeopathy is not a fucking real thing. It's 10 to the fucking 23rd, one with 23 zeros behind it, is how much memory of whatever bullshit you're pretending to have.
And if you're lucky, there's a little bit of alcohol in there.
Yeah, and it used to be succussed with a Bible. You'd beat it with a Bible to get the fucking mixture right. Like, but there's still massive centres for homeopathy, even in Perth here.
Yeah. I mean, there's certain things where... Obviously, in hospital situations, you want it all to be evidence-based. But at the same time, it's also cultural respect. And if it doesn't cause harm to the person, then it's okay for people to have those cultural practices.
Just wasting time and resources.
I mean, like I said, if it's not totally exorbitant and they're not trying to sell a kidney just to get this cure for something else.
We have fucking, they probably have the same shit that a lot of places have. We have like subsidized fucking, you can get like homeopathy on fucking private health.
Yeah,
and
so
shit
they're actually looking
like
at taking,
and you're like,
getting rid of some of those.
You're wasting my time and money. Like, and I don't want the time and money of the accountant that has to crunch those numbers to be wasted fucking running that. Like,
yeah.
We know it's not real, so
yeah.
Shut the doors. Stop fucking practicing it. Like.
Yeah. And there's some things which, like I said, there are some traditional medicines and stuff like that do have evidence-based.
But that's not the thing. It's like, even that in itself is like, if it's not, doesn't have to be traditional. It's like, if it's evidence-based, fine. Then it's, in my opinion, then it's not traditional anymore. Then it's actual medicine.
Or if they're doing what, is suggested for, by a medically trained doctor, and then they're doing adjunctive therapy, which is that traditional medicine, or, you know, maybe some yoga, or, you know, all these other things. Or
As long as it doesn't also like have some nocebo effect that comes back on their medicine that they're getting from a doctor.
It's more
or some
like,
shit.
as long as it's not causing harm, fine, whatever. As long as it's not someone going, okay, instead of getting my chemotherapy as suggested by my doctor, I'm going to take
But I feel that
homeopathy.
would be so much more prevalent in a place like China and Wuhan and Hubei province with such a long history of traditional medicine where they're just like, here, go home and rest and take this fucking lemon balm drink and relax for a bit. And it's like, no, go seek fucking medical aid. There's a pandemic happening. Like,
yeah, well, obviously they know there's a pandemic happening. They know shit's hit the fan. But obviously there might be some cases where, the people are trying to think of traditional medicine to try and help them. That doesn't...
I'm not saying that it's isolated to them, so that's why we have measles outbreaks here as well, because there's fucking idiots everywhere.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
You just think idiots might be more highly... It is. So I'm not fucking wrong in that, because they're saying, like, anti-vaxxing is way higher in Fremantle and Margaret River. Areas where there's this fucking retarded hipster population of people that know better than doctors. And...
Or they think it's about not abusing bodies.
Yeah, you know, it's personal choice. You can do whatever, blah, blah, blah. And you're like... So, I'm coming at it from a logic angle, and I'm like, I can see that happening here, so that's why I can see that happening there as well.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. I mean...
I'm not saying Chinese are dumb and that they just believe in ancient medicine. I'm saying that growing up with thousands of years of, like, respect your elders
or maybe
and
we'll
go have
look
this,
at the misinformation that's been spreading. So there was reports of people throwing their cats and dogs from balconies and apartments and everything like that because they heard that the novel coronavirus was spreading via cats and dogs. So I think it's more they hear that this is either going to make things worse or make things better. And so they go that it's more of a hysteria to try and help themselves.
People are just fucking retarded.
Yeah. It's fear. It's just stupid shit.
That's what I mean.
People.
It's just so fear based, and people just panic, and it's not like hard to understand. I don't think it's pretty not reasonable, but you know, like imagine if we woke up tomorrow and they were like, "There's fucking 800 cases of some unknown illness in Perth," you'd be like, "What?
Yeah.
What?"
Yeah. And it's kind of like one of those things like, do you want to expose yourself to that? Is there some way to save yourself? You're just going for anything that can protect yourself, your family. Base
level instincts of like reptile brain of all right, safety and security and resources. But that's the thing, we're so more complacent with just everyday shit like the cold or flu, fucking way more likely to fucking kill a bunch of people.
The flu, is more likely
heart
to cause
disease,
issues.
fucking obesity, smoking,
alcohol.
Yeah.
Oh god, you do not want to get liver problems. Don't. No.
Yeah, that Jack, you're gonna get cirrhosis of your liver.
Oh, it's more so you can get something called hepatic encephalopathy, where so pretty much it's the build up because your body's not processing ammonia properly, causes a kind of delirium. The best way to treat that is they give you lots and lots of lactulose, which is it's a purine. It's a laxative. It makes you shit through the eye of the storm. So
just clear everything out.
Exactly, because your liver's not clearing out properly, so it clears it out. It's the sugars and something like It's pretty much you just.
Why is alcohol legal?
Because it's good. It's good until it's bad. It's
like
good in moderation.
moderation.
Moderation, yeah.
Coronavirus, good in moderation. Could you get... So you can't develop an immunity to a virus, can you?
Yeah. You can develop immunity.
And then does it just like become a host, like you become a host, but it's not doing anything Or you don't become a host
No.
because it can't latch on?
Yeah,
or...
yeah. So your body, if you become immune, your body kills it off. So it gets immunity.
So, like, when the virus would try and latch onto a receptor, your own immune system would just kill the virus.
Yeah,
before
because
it
it's like,
tries to
hey,
latch on.
I know what the
You're a
fuck you
foreign
are.
body,
Yeah, and that's how vaccinations work. So they expose you to.
So can we not expose ourselves to, like, some shittier version of coronavirus?
We haven't got a vaccine for it, and we don't.
But
it has to be very
That's
specific.
how cowpox and smallpox work.
Yeah,
so
but it doesn't work for everything. Otherwise, we'd
haven't
have
tried.
vaccinations for everything. So yeah, it really just depends. Like, people are looking to vaccinations, but that takes time to make and go through all the.
See, not in
loops of
China.
Well, I think in China, people would probably be more likely to risk having it not work than getting the virus, I think. Because they're afraid.
You just need to have more of those lumber camps set up and do more practice tests.
Well, I'm sure, like, if the Chinese government really wanted to, they could have a special hospital that's more just to do tests if they wanted to.
They already do. Let's not beat around the bush.
Yeah. They probably can do. But, yeah.
They built 2 hospitals in, like,
well, one of
10
them
days or
was
whatever it
already, like, an outfitted, like, they just refitted the complex, and the other one looks like it's pretty much shipping containers. That if you've seen, like, the one that was, like, built from the ground up, it kind of looks like, here's a shipping container.
I watched that time lapse. It was like,
yeah. Or
prefab
it's just like demountables when you get them at your school, and it's just like, plop, there we go.
Except filled with death and disease.
Oh yeah.
Well, I feel like we've basically covered everything.
Yeah. Sorry, I blanked on a few things. Haven't gone in a fight with you.
You've been most gracious to come up and spend your time
So
doing
far
this,
away.
Erin.
Such a long
now you're
drive.
going to drive all the way back.
Oh god. Yep. Cool.
It's been
Thanks
most
for having
appreciated.
me. Cool.
I feel like we've covered everything.
Oh yeah,
I'm just
and
freaking
thanks,
out on a
Jack,
bunch of
for
stuff.
your apology as well. I
I
heard that last time. Thank you very much.
Such a piece of shit, Jack. Nah, you're alright.
It's just been burnt into my mind. That's
Your
the
doodle.
issue.
Bye, everyone.
See ya.
Officer has engaged suspect vehicle in pursuit. Confirmed. Pursuit engaged. All units be advised we have a pursuit in
We
progress.
interrupt our
Units on
program to bring you
non-assist
this
calls. Clear and
important
stand by to assist.